Hello my peeps, this is Kat aka Kakibot and this is Kakibot's Guidebook, and this weekend we are in Newcastle. We have decided to spend this week travelling around the northeast of England because if you're based in Scotland or if you're even just visiting Scotland, I think that this is the part of England that's really worth visiting, and more importantly, it's really easy to visit. If you are based in Edinburgh, there are just trains coming down to this part of England all the time, and because it's not that far away, they're not even that horribly expensive, although they're still more expensive than they should be. Anyway, this is the wonderful city that has given us Lucozade, Greggs, and both and Deck. It is England's coldest major city, but also one of the least rainy. The coldest city of England definitely checks out, and it definitely has rained on us about 10 times in one day, so I'm not sure about the other part of that fact. Anyway, this weekend we're gonna be taking you to all of the things to see, some cool places to eat. Why don't you join us for a little exploration of the city to help you decide if this is a place you'd like to visit? Let's go! If you are approaching Newcastle by car, especially coming in from south, you shouldn't miss the Angel of the North. This giant sculpture, designed by Anthony Gormley, is larger than a Boeing 757, and here in the north probably has to withstand similar levels of being battered by strong winds. This has of course been thought of during the engineering process, and the vertical lines running through the sculpture's body help move all this energy into its foundations, which are 20 meters deep. Mayhaps you are arriving via train instead, which is a bit of a treat of its own. This Victorian station, inaugurated by, well, the very Queen Victoria herself in 1850, was the first covered train station in the world. It is also connected to the High Level Bridge, the world's first combined rail and road bridge. Speaking of which, Newcastle has 7 bridges in total connecting it to Gateshead. The newest one is the Millennium Bridge, opened in 2001, which kind of tilts up to let ships through, making it the only bridge using this engineering choice in the world. But I know what you're thinking. You didn't come here for a TED Talk about bridges, you want to see some treats. Well, after our first night here at the Rooms Apart Hotel right next to the river, we ventured out to Pure Need, a bakery which has surpassed all of our expectations, and they were already pretty high. First of all, this amount of choice, are you kidding me? Plus, there's a breakfast menu on the side too. Honestly, this must have been the fanciest, bougiest pastry I've had in my life. This is a pastry you would get at Waldorf Astoria, not Newcastle, at least according to my limited preconceptions. We also had a plum and Earl Grey cake, because I am a great proponent of cake for breakfast, and if you want to fight me on this, you will lose, because I am high on sugar and ready to take on the world. If you are planning a trip to Newcastle, you might want to make it a Sunday, because the Sunday Quayside market is a foodie wonderland. There's plenty to eat and buy, and it very much is not an overpriced affair. This is clearly a weekly pop-up meant for local families to make a little riverside day out of it. We ended up getting some Ethiopian food, meaty option and vegan option. It was fantastic, and we even managed to keep it safe from seagulls. Win! Crossing the Millennium Bridge gets you to the Baltic Art Centre, an impressive building first opened in the 50s and originally used as one of Hovis's flour mills. Yes, that Hovis. In 2002, it was reborn as one of England's leading modern art galleries, although interestingly, it doesn't have a permanent exhibition of its own. Instead, you will see something new every time you make your little Newcastle pilgrimage. Also, an amazing gift shop, so many trinkets for all of your coolest friends. Much recommended. And Newcastle has a little Chinatown too. I know this won't be super inspired of me, but I gotta tell you to go to Tsujiri, one of UK's branches of a Kyoto tea house first established in 1860, and yours truly's favorite matcha soft serve in this otherwise black tea obsessed country. Afterwards, we still had some time to check out the Hancock Museum, a must-see stop if you're traveling with children. With great exhibitions on natural history, the Roman background of this part of England, and even British dinosaurs. These indeed are the most British dinosaurs I have ever laid my eyes upon. Less of a dino head and more of a foodie, or perhaps looking to buy an edible souvenir or an iced latte, pop into Fenwick. You can think of this 140-year-old icon as a bit of a northern Harrods. You can feel the inspiration by Parisian stores here, but with an underlying friendly vibe, because this is Newcastle and you will be battered by friendliness whether you like it or not. And for dinner, Kai Kai. This is an Indian eatery specializing in preparing meals using open fire and smoke. We tried a whole bunch of sharing meals and oh boy, this was a great introduction to Newcastle's food scene. Honestly, this might have been some of my favorite Indian food ever. The broccoli, so flavorful, plus super juicy chicken and also some greens for health. And even though Newcastle has a lot more of a pub culture than a cocktail one, there are still some little gems in the city where you can pick up a tasty, inventive beverage like Mother Mercy in Grainger Town. On our second day, we decided to explore outside of the city centre, but we need to catch up with a very important place first, the Grainger Market. Somewhat frustratingly, this is a spot best suited for late breakfast or lunch, and of course to pick up groceries, or maybe even vintage toys. Our breakfast cravings led us to one of Newcastle's cheap eats institutions, Nanbei Dumplings, where you can adopt a Chinese auntie and let her prepare the most tasty handmade dumplings for you. And one extra treat, just next to the central station, Newcastle's Lit and Phil, or the Literary and Philosophical Society. This place is fully accessible to guests, and we felt very welcome to peruse its collection of books, especially rich in local history, natural history, art and architecture, but also, and this was a first for me, an actual occult section. I thought this only existed in dark fantasy, not Newcastle, but here you go. There is also a kids section, and it has a copy of Nimona, one of my favorite graphic novels, so plus points for me. And because Newcastle has its own little metro network, it's actually really easy to pop onto one of these little trains and travel into the outskirts to see something else than just the city centre. We are here in Tynemouth and there is so much to see and do and eat here. I'm so excited. We took the car, but I'm so happy that I got to show you a train. Trains. Anyway, we're gonna go explore the high street, the beach. There is supposedly some amazing seafood going on. There's also a lot of history to be seen and admired when you're in Tynemouth. But not only Tynemouth, we are also later gonna visit Jesmond Dene, which is another one of those areas that are not maybe walkable distance, but very much worth your visit.
Tynemouth is just the cutest seaside town, a top spot to get some fresh air, especially when the weather works out. And even when it doesn't, I'd still recommend popping over, for multiple reasons. One of them being Deep North, who make such good donuts. These were fresh and made from scratch, and I am to this day grieving the fact that I didn't make Simon stop by here on our way back home, so I could have just one more bonus little donut. Boo! But also, yay, I got to have one and a half. They were great. The Tynemouth priory brings a lot of extra drama to the landscape. This place started as a monastery, eventually becoming a fortress, and you can visit it. It's about £10 to do so, unless you're an English Heritage member, in which case you can go for free. However, we needed to save some funds for what is allegedly one of the top places to grab some seafood in this area, Riley's Fish Shack. Sitting down in King Edward's Bay is this little fish bar, always busy, serving seasonal local seafood, often grilled, accompanied by tasty cocktails. We had some oysters and cod, and I just wish the weather played along a bit better so we could take them out on the actual beach. Otherwise, no notes, delicious stuff. Now, it's frustratingly not as easy as one would hope to get from the north part of this area to the south part, but if you do make it, you will find another proof of just how proud Newcastle is of its Roman-heavy history. Arbea is a little museum of a Roman fort which used to stand on this very spot, with an actual realistic recreation of its main gate. It is completely free to enter and will give you an interesting insight into the everyday life of the Roman military. Looking for less history nerdy fun, continue towards the seaside, where you will find the Ocean Beach Pleasure Park and Sandhaven Beach, both feeling a bit like my memories of summers in Cesenatico in Italy rather than what I know as the British seaside, plus very dramatic views of the very same priory from before. Ominous. On the way back, we stopped by Northern Rye, a bit of a local bakery legend. They have recently been featured in the Britain's Best Bakeries book, and I am trying to visit as many of the places listed in it, so off we go to get some treats. Now, despite the rain, or maybe even thanks to it, visiting Jesmond Dene was a wonderfully calm experience. This place was originally a private family park, owned and landscaped by William George Armstrong, a local attorney cum engineer, who had a bit of a fascination with water and waterfalls, so he just blasted the original landscape with some explosives to make his own. Yay, Victorian explosions! He eventually gifted this leafy space to the city, and nowadays it is possibly the lushest city park I've ever seen. It's amazing for photography or some sort of old-timey cosplay picnic, and it even has a petting zoo. A true 10 out of 10 green space, very jealous. Also, I haven't yet mentioned that Newcastle has a castle too, which is because it's super dinky, to the extent where Simon kept arguing about surely this isn't it with me. Technically, this is just one of the gates, and detached on the other side of the bridge, the castle keep, but, you know, still something to check off the list. And just behind it was our dinner place for the night, the Zucchini Pasta Bar, which specializes in house-made fresh pasta. They even organize classes, so if you want to roll out a bunch of your very own tagliatelle, these are your people. And after this, finishing our very enjoyable trip to Newcastle at Crown Posada, the city's second oldest pub. It's full of stained glass and mahogany, and if you enjoy a good English traditional pub, which honestly you all should, this should be on your list.
Okay, those were 2 days here in Newcastle, our first ever time spending a couple of nights here. I would say a great success, even though right now Newcastle clearly is very upset with us for leaving tomorrow. But don't you worry, there are more videos coming in this series about Northeast England. Next up, there is something very special that I want to share with you. The historical town of Beamish. We're going there tomorrow. I am so pumped already. I think it's going to be refreshing to leave the big city, although I have to say Newcastle is in no way an overwhelming city. Newcastle is quite quiet, quite slow. It's pretty chill here. So if you're looking for a city break that's not gonna like cost you all of your mental health spoons, jump on the train from wherever you are, you know, London, Edinburgh, Glasgow, York, and do visit Newcastle for a day or two. There are just so many things to do. I mean, at this point, what even is the point of telling you? I already showed you. There is also a very lively bird population right here in the city. It is, I have to say, the bridges over River Tyne are so cool. When you see them from up close, it almost is like being next to like Eiffel Tower. It's like kind of that like industrial but very aged look. Love it. Anyway, I would also say people here extremely friendly. We have made multiple friends just shooting this video here, which normally doesn't happen. So now it's time for you to tell us in the comment section below. Have you ever been to Newcastle? What did you think about it? What would be your tips for other people who are maybe planning this trip? What would be something that we missed out on when we were here for those 2 days and should visit next time we are around? Let us know. I would absolutely love to hear what your secret faves are. Okay, now this is it for this video. Don't forget to stay tuned for that video from Beamish, and also, of course, visit me on Instagram, KakiBot for my illustrations, KakiBlog for my photography, and if you super like my work here on YouTube, I would appreciate if you left me like a little tip, maybe over on Patreon. Okay, that is it for me. I'm gonna go pack myself and it's off to Beamish tomorrow. Yeah!